Hi, this is Joe. This is Joe giving another review. I know I haven't done one for a while. I've been extremely busy. So, first review for a while, or in a while, I should say. And for the start of this review, on this video, I'm going to be discussing the ESPN 3 for 30 Long Gone Summer. Now, of course, this is the first baseball documentary that ESPN has done in quite a while. The majority of their documentaries of late have either been about basketball or football. So it's been a really, really long time since they've done a baseball documentary, and I really look forward to seeing this one because it's about the 1998 home run chase between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Now, of course, now 22 years later, of course, the race is now, of course, tainted because both of them were on steroids. Even though to this day, 22 years later, Sammy Sosa still denies that he was ever on, steroids. And of course, which we're going to get into as this review progresses. Of course, we all know that going into the 1998 season, it was rumored that this could be the year that the home run race on the home run record, but held by Roger Maris since 1961, would be broken. And many people thought it was going to be Ken Griffey Jr. Remember, he went, I think, about as far as like 52 home runs, I think, something like that. But the real big race was between McGwire and Sosa. McGwire was hitting home runs like crazy, and Sosa started to got into the race like in June, because he broke the record for June for most home runs in the month of June. He hit 20 home runs. So because he hit those 20 home runs in June, went into the race, and for a couple, or maybe for like not even 24 hours, he was actually ahead of McGwire for a while. He had like 55 home runs, 56 home runs. McGwire's like 54. And then McGwire kept going into a hot streak with the home runs and went past Sosa, and eventually not only broke Roger Maris' home run record on Tuesday, September 8th, 1998, which of course will be the exact anniversary this year, the way the calendar came out. That September 8th falls on a Tuesday this year in 2020, just as they did 22 years ago. Because of leap year, it happens to fall out on the exact days this year. And of course, what actually stored, a lot of people thought at that time that McGwire was already on steroids because of his days playing for the Oakland A's and being a teammate of Jose Canseco. As they briefly, in terms of if you blink and you miss that reference. And literally, because this documentary, before I continue, it was so positive with the home run race. It was ridiculous. And the main references for the end of the documentary, they said, now, in retrospect, 22 years later, we know now that the thing was tainted because both these two guys were on steroids. But, and they concentrated what impact at the time this home run race had, because it was such a positive thing. Not the Cal Ripken story, which took place the same year we had the strike in 1995, or the year the strike ended. They focused on this thing, and thanks to really Cal Ripken, people were more interested in baseball then, or starting to get back into it, but really got into it because of the whole thing. And when you have one black player and we have one white player, we have one American-born player in McGwire and one foreign-born player in Sammy Sosa in terms of nationality. They were born in the Dominican Republic, and of course, and they also briefly touched on what did actually happen that season, and that was a reporter named Steve Wilstein, who was working for the Associated Press, found a bottle of Andro Steam they own in McGwire's locker. And of course, they focused it on for about maybe a minute or two. They found it in his locker, but what they didn't put in was the fact that Steve Wilstein got banned for life as long as Tony La Russa was the manager of the Cardinals. He was going to be the manager of the Cardinals to about another 13 years. Got banned after this. Banned Steve Wilstein from the Cardinals clubhouse because he tainted his boy, Tony La Russa's boy, McGuire, from possibly using performance-enhancing drugs, which Andrew was. Even though it's over-the-counter stuff, and of course at that time the rules of baseball wasn't illegal to take, but it tainted the whole thing and kind of ruined the whole home run race. And there's also the possibility, it brought up the possibility maybe Sammy Sosa was on steroids as well, even though he didn't really was named. It was rumored, but never called out because they didn't make testing yet for being on steroids. Until, of course, when Jose Canseco's book came out in 2005, they did testify in front of Congress, and Sammy Sosa, miraculously, who knows how to speak English fluently, pretended they forgot to know how to speak English. He conveniently didn't speak English at the congressional hearing. And then of course McGuire, they didn't say that clip of McGuire, so they're not here to talk about the past, at that hearing. But now, about 5 years later, because McGuire was long since retired, and Sammy was also retired at that time as well. McGuire wanted to get back into baseball in some way, and he was about to be hired by Tony La Russa as the hitting coach for the Cardinals. So what happened was McGuire finally admitted what everybody knew, that he did finally admit that he was actually on steroids. But Sammy, to this day, refused to admit that he was on steroids. Of course, there been a whole big thing of when McGuire did tie and broke Roger Maris's home run record in a two-game series, which was on September 7th, which was on Labor Day that year, and on September 8th was against the Cubs in front of Sammy Sosa. So people claiming, what if Sammy ties the record in the same day or goes ahead of you? And there was also a controversial moment during the home run race as who's going to get credit for breaking the home run record. And of course, it was going to be McGuire, because McGuire broke it first. I mean, even if Sammy ties and ends up finishing ahead of McGuire, which of course we all know that didn't happen, but if Sammy had finished the season ahead of McGuire, then Sammy would have gotten the record. But McGuire will get the credit for breaking the record first. Even if Sammy Sosa finished ahead of him. Of course, he did finish ahead of McGuire for about like 30 seconds, because he had like 65 home runs or actually tied McGuire with 65 home runs taking into the last 3 games, and Sammy pretty much stopped hitting home runs, and McGuire hit like 5 home runs in like the last 3 games to hit 70, and finished the year at 70 home runs. Of course, McGuire's home run single season record will be broken like 3 years later. It took 37 years for someone to break Roger Maris's record, and it took 3 to break McGuire's record. Because Bonds was on even more steroids than McGuire was. But of course, now that they briefly touched on the whole steroid thing, which I think they should have, because they, especially the remark does reference the McGuire. And I'm not here to talk about the past stuff. I mean, they should have been more, bashing McGuire and Sosa for being on steroids. But of course, to this day, I mean, since then, Sammy only played to 2004, because he got traded from the Cubs, and it didn't even mention which team he got traded to. He got traded to in 2004, and he retired in 2004. And McGwire ended his career in 2001 because of all the steroid-enhanced injuries that he had. I mean, people focus on that, and I don't get off topic, but the focus on, like I think like 2002, 2003, like one of the last years the Piazza played with the Mets, he had a severe growing pull injury. I mean, he tore the muscle all the way down to the bone. And a lot of so-called doctors came out and said, "Oh, you only got an injury for being on steroids." You know, putting that implied that Piazza was on steroids as well, even though he was never. It was rumored, but it didn't have any real smoking gun on Piazza, unlike Sammy and McGwire, because in Sammy Sosa's case, he took a drug test. I think 2000. He took a drug test for steroids, and he actually tested positive for steroids in Sammy Sosa's case, and that story got leaked out by the New York Nazi Times. Mentioned it. So of course, even though his test results were leaked to the media, he still denied saying he was on steroids. I mean, what a joke. Well, at least McGwire, he retired before they even had that drug test. But McGwire, we already knew that McGwire was only on steroids only for like I mentioned earlier, those years he spent with Oakland, and of course with Tony La Russa constantly, especially when Jose Canseco's book came out. I have the book behind me here. I don't know if you can see it, but I have it piled up back here. Tony La Russa went crazy because when Canseco admitted that he helped inject McGwire with steroids, even though that was not brought up in this documentary either about Canseco's books, because actually they don't want to give Canseco any credit for leaking leaking all this stuff. But now, was it like 15 years later after the book Canseco's book originally came out, he was right about everything in his book. And Tony La Russa, how dare Canseco snitch on my boy like that? He totally made this up about my boy because he didn't have the career that McGwire had. And they got the praise McGwire's had. Which is true. I mean, it was true to that extent. But Canseco was dead on right by saying that McGwire was on steroids as well. But he got stiffed. Jose Canseco just got banks it for writing the two books. Yeah, he did. Well, mainly the first one, Juiced, which is a lot of his books are very good read, Canseco's. I mean, he finished his books in like 2 days, 2 or 3 days. That's how fast he went through it. But at least Canseco should have got credit for blowing the whistle on all these guys. He should have. And the documentary didn't give him credit because, like I said earlier, they want to be positive with the home run chase. And yeah, you can see when we took what happened at that time, and what impact that had. And of course, actually, a lot of blacks were rooting for Sammy Sosa to beat, Whitey. But McGwire still came out on top anyway. So, people will probably scream white privilege, white privilege, white privilege. That happened today, but it didn't happen. But the documentary itself was good for what it is. And what was disgusting was that McGwire got put into the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame for what he did for those 4 years or 3 years they did, same with the 3 full years, 98, 99, 2000, and of course 2001 he retired, and part of 97, and by half of 97. But still, it wasn't right to honor a guy who everybody knows cheated. Same thing with Sammy Sosa. Of course, I should mention that the current Cubs owners, the Rickett family, who has absolutely no class. I mean, they trashed Tom Ricketts trashed meth fans 5 years ago when the Mets beat up on the Cubs in the 2015 playoffs. Said, "Oh, the Met fans have no class." Well, Cub fans have no class. If you want to see what I'm talking about, check out my Steve Bartman video that he did, or commentaries. Check that video out. Plus, I think he did a review of that documentary, Catching Hell. If I didn't do it, I might do a video on it. Another good documentary to watch, Catching Hell, by the Steve Bartman game. When he interfered. The Cubs have no class as a management, and the fans definitely don't have any class at all. No way. The Ricketts family don't want Sammy Sosa to come back to Wrigley Field until when he missed that he cheated. And of course, like I said, Sammy Sosa refuses to admit that he cheated. So until when he does, he's banned from Wrigley Field. Hell, all those fans who threatened to kill Steve Bartman, those are the ones who should be banned as well. That's my opinion for what it is. But to this day, Sammy Sosa has never been back in at least 10 years. Since the Ricketts family bought the Cubs, they refused to have Sammy Sosa back. But as this documentary was, it was good for what it was. Should have went further into the steroids situation. That's my only one complaint about it. But as a whole, not a bad documentary. So that's my review of the 3 for 3 Long Gone Summer documentary. Please click on the video, please rate it. Please subscribe to my channel. Please forward this video on your Facebook pages. And check out all my reviews on my YouTube channel at rowdyc.com. So WDY.c.com. That's the homepage to Rowdy Reviewer. Chris Lee Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.